last week's episode, we cruised along the Kiel Canal and met the North Sea on our way to the remote island of Helgoland. In this episode, we take advantage of rare easterly winds and favorable currents that push us 317 nautical miles nonstop in 4 days and 3 nights across the North Sea all the way to Dunkirk. We've all heard tales of the North Sea. Sailors in this area have tremendous respect for this powerful sea and know what a bully she can be. After our battles with the Baltic, I was wondering if the North Sea would accept us onto her turf, or if she would just punch us right in the face. Mike has a little experience sailing these waters, but this was my first meeting with the North Sea. We wanted to be cautious and strategic. So how do you deal with a bully? In most cases, you stand up to her and face her, head on. Or you do what we did. You catch her in a good mood. Of course, it doesn't hurt if you have a big orange bodyguard with an iron fist and a steel jaw to protect you. And let me assure you, Sea Falca and the North Sea are old friends, and they get along just fine. Sea Falca was built in the North Sea by Dutch designers who carefully constructed her specifically for these brutal conditions. She spent 43 years of her 44-year life sailing the North Sea. On Friday morning, August 31st, the North Sea gave her old friend Sea Falca a hearty welcome home with rare easterly winds that lasted for 82 straight hours. We originally planned to take our first leg from Helgoland to Den Helder, a port in the Netherlands. This would require sailing through the night and deep into the next day. We wanted to take advantage of the fair winds and cooperative currents. We departed Helgoland at 5 a.m., and while it was a little rough at first, the North Sea greeted us with a day of fantastic sailing. But even with the perfect wind and weather, our highs and lows on this voyage were in sync with the ever-changing tides that make the North Sea unique and dangerous.
The plan was to leave Helgoland with high water. And use the prevailing currents to pull us southwest where we need to go. We had very strong northwesterly winds the day before and was still prevailing. But over the day, the forecast said northwesterly winds would decrease a little, from 6 down to 5, 5 down to 4, and eventually would shift to northeast, which is very rare condition for the German Bight for the eastern North Sea. So we had to take advantage of that and had to take the sacrifice of little rough conditions at first, which were not. It was not that kind of a sacrifice. To be honest, it was fun sailing. The waves were high, with 3 meters high, but we were with the half wind course and all sails up. We making good speed, like 5 to 6 knots at times, surfing down the waves. That was kind of fun. We are talking about good weather. That's not the vacation beach weather that you may have in mind. When we're talking about good weather, then the winds come from the right direction, everything else doesn't matter.
Got 2 Southland. North Sea, baby. This is it.
So I was on watch, and it was great sailing, but definitely more rough conditions than I'm used to in Bon Secours Bay. I mean, this was the North Sea. But everything was going fine, and at some point I realized that I was surrounded by huge ships. Never had any experience with a traffic separation scheme before, and I certainly had no experience in this kind of traffic and these kind of conditions. Somehow I had drifted over into the nose up, and I just panicked. I realized I was surrounded by these ships and I didn't know what to do. And so I called for Mike, and he came bolting up to the cockpit in his stocking feet and got us out of there safely. And then, of course, we passed the traffic separation scheme the correct way. And I knew that I had made a big mistake. And I was really beating myself up about it and feeling very incompetent and kind of unworthy of sailing this beautiful ship on this amazing sea. But fortunately, everything was okay and we got out of there, but my confidence was low at this point.
So yeah, in the in the afternoon we had to cross 2 traffic separation schemes. The German Bight is full of them, and after we crossed the first one, I set the course and the autopilot towards the second one, and it was very important to me to cross the traffic separation scheme in a 90 degrees angle, because it's also a really busy traffic separation scheme. There are ships all over the place and they were going really fast. When I was woken up, we were already maybe a quarter of a nautical mile inside the traffic separation scheme, and we were surrounded by a lot of ships. And what happened was that there is a difference between heading and course. And in that area, the streams, the tidal streams, are very strong. We talked about this earlier. And so we still had the right heading, but we were deviating from the heading from our course southwards. We're drifting into that traffic separation scheme. Of course, this was a mistake that shouldn't have happened, but on the other side, the only way of learning is making mistakes, and it was not a fatal mistake, nothing happened. We could very easily correct our course, get out of the traffic separation scheme, take a new approach, the proper way, 90 degrees angle. It is a difference to have like a few years sailing experience, and a lifetime or half a lifetime at least sailing experience. And there are a lot of things out there that like old sailors like me would not even know what they know. You know, they just naturally do things the way they do them, and sometimes it is difficult to imagine what a new sailor all needs to learn to do things right.
Goodbye, Deutschland! Hello, Netherlands!
As the day turned into night, we realized that our starboard navigation light wasn't functioning. Mike was able to install a creative rig that would work until we could replace it with a new green light the next day.
Pretty cool! Right at sunset!
Then I had to deal with my first ever night watch.
My confidence was already a little low, and then I had to take my first ever night watch, and I had to take my first ever night watch on the North Sea with a lot of traffic. And so Mike did a great job of briefing me, but this is one of those things where you need experience to know how to maneuver your way through that sort of situation. And so there I was, and I was trying to see through the binoculars, and it was completely dark, pitch black dark, and there were lights everywhere, and I was having a really hard time trying to, I couldn't tell the difference between a buoy and a ship or an oil rig or a wind park, and all the lights seemed to be coming after me, and they were moving in all these different directions. But I was trying to let Mike rest, and so I was confused, and I was working hard and trying to take care of keeping us safe. And at one point, there were some objects in front of me, and I could see the lights, but I couldn't tell how far away they were. and they started to come into form, like they became in focus, I just panicked. And I called down to Mike, and he again came running up to the cockpit in his bare feet and got us out of there. And it was at this point that I thought, okay, I have made 2 huge mistakes in one day, and maybe I just shouldn't be out here.
Next morning, the seas were calm, and so were my nerves. Mike gave me a pep talk, and then he told me that we should just keep on going rather than stopping in Den Helder.
I took the decision to just move on because the conditions were so good, and they're rare, really rare for that sea area. We just had to take the opportunity. It would be stupid to not take the opportunity. And I'll show you why. These are the monthly charts of the North Atlantic, and here we are in the North Sea, and here was where we started, and here we wanted to go. So, and here you see the average wind direction and strength distribution over in the month of August. And you see that usually a wind from the west, from the southwest, west, or from the northwest, and you hardly ever have wind from the north or from the easterly directions. So we had it, and that's exactly where we needed it from. So we just had to take the opportunity and keep on sailing.
This meant another night watch for me. But during the day, we got a lot accomplished. The water was calm enough that Mike was able to replace the navigation lights with our new energy-efficient LED versions. And we worked on our other boat maintenance while cruising along the unusually tame North Sea. I practiced the night watch all day long. I asked Mike a lot of questions and practiced with determining which directions the ships were moving. I anticipated my adjustments and worked really hard to get prepared. This is when Mike switched our watch schedule from time-based to situation-based. I took the longer, easy, open ocean shifts and let Mike rest so he could tackle the heavy traffic, tougher battles. This time, the night shift became more comfortable for me, and the next morning, Mike decided once again that we should just keep going. On our 3rd straight day at sea, we passed some of the world's largest ports, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and Antwerp. It was a smooth weather day, but the traffic was heavy. Outside Rotterdam, we were amazed to see the famous Merit Maersk, one of the world's largest container ships. It's almost 400 meters long and 59 meters wide. With 100,000 horsepower, it hauls 10,150 containers, and each one of them is larger than Sea Falcon.
Deep into the 3rd day, we were kind of getting into a rhythm on the boat, and so were the puppies. So we were finally getting them to potty out on the deck on the bow when the conditions were safe enough, and we were getting used to our kind of on and off sleeping schedules, but we were getting tired. I mean, I cannot tell a lie. It's not as easy as it sounds or as it looks to be out there fighting all that traffic all the time. And I think during my watches, I was so wide awake because I was so afraid of making another mistake that I don't even think I was blinking.
We were about to pass Rotterdam, and we got a little bit of an internet, so we could update our weather forecast. And I saw, hey, the northeasterly winds keep blowing, so hey, we need to keep going. So we again changed our plans and did not go for Seabreaker, but so set a course to Dunkirk, the entrance of the English Channel.
Bye, Netherlands. Hello, Belgium.
And when we finally arrived at Dunkirk, we were exhausted. And that was not because of the 4 days and 3 nights at sea. That was because we're at high alert and tension all the time. And that was because of the traffic. You cannot imagine how exhaustive it is to go on night watch during when you pass like one of the huge ports like Rotterdam. First of all, you have a bunch of oil and gas rigs all over the place. Then you have shallow areas that you should avoid. And you have fishing boats that do all sorts of crazy things. And then you still have those huge ocean giants that are at anchorage, that all of a sudden start moving, and the pilot vessels are going high speed back and forth, and in the middle, they're they're you like a tiny 12-meter boat in the middle of the ocean, surrounded by thousands of hostile contacts that are just waiting to roll over you, and that just takes its toll.
Hi, Belgium. Hello, friends. Dunkirk was a popular stop for North Sea sailors long before the 2017 war film that made it famous worldwide. The Battle of Dunkirk was a military operation that took place in Dunkirk, France, during the Second World War. The battle was fought between the Allies and Nazi Germany. As part of the Battle of France on the Western Front, the Battle of Dunkirk was the defense and evacuation to Britain of British and other Allied forces in Europe from May 26 to June 4, 1940. France's third-ranking port, Dunkirk is well known as a port handling heavy bulk cargoes for its numerous industrial installations.
So I can understand that everybody who sailed the North Sea before would envy us for the weather we had. Because we probably got it 1% of the year where we have good weather in the North Sea.
After 4 days and 3 nights, we had sailed 317 miles in 82 straight hours. We fought the battles within ourselves, while Sea Falcon and the North Sea brought us safely into this harbor. But we didn't stay in Dunkirk long. In the next episode, we take on more heavy traffic and unstable weather as we sail through the English Channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Please read our online blogs for deeper content. If you want to follow us in real time using our GPS satellite tracker, please join our crew on Patreon. All the links are in the description below.